everybody. This is Cassie, and you are watching Crowd Chat on the Game Crafter, whatever medium you're using, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I think we're on LinkedIn, a whole bunch of things. I have with me today Patrick Rauland, who is the designer and publisher of Fry Thief. Laid Back Games is his business. And he's going to tell me a little bit about his campaign and how he marketed Laid Back Games. Your Fry Thief was the first game and your first Kickstarter campaign as well, right?
Yep. I wanted to, last year, I set a goal to design and publish a game within a year, and Fry Thief was that game. So I had the idea of December of 2017, worked on all of 2018, and then launched it. I was ready to go at the end of 2018, but I just thought it was bad timing to launch on New Year's. So I launched it early February. So I designed and got the game ready to launch in a year, and then pressed the launch button in February.
So was there a reason that you picked a year? Was this some kind of challenge for yourself?
Yeah, I just set yearly goals. And if I say I'm going to make a game sometime, I will never make the game. If I say I will make a game by the end of the year, then that helps me clarify my priorities. So in years previous, I'd been this year I'm going to Burning Man. This year I'm going to run a marathon. This year I'm going to start my own business. So all of those are yearly goals, and I can do one big yearly goal. So that was my big yearly goal, was getting Fry Thief ready to go, making a game and getting it ready to launch was my goal that year.
So one of the things that I'm excited about having you on the show is because Fry Thief did really well, and this was your first campaign. So I know, let's see, it was about 450 backers and about $10,000 that the campaign brought in. Mm-hmm. And I want to know so for your first campaign, I want to know, what did you do before you decided to publish? Did you do a lot of research on publishing, or did you decide I'm going to publish and then you did, utilize tools after the fact? And what tools did you utilize?
Yeah, so first of all, I wasn't 100% set on publishing myself. I was I think through Origins, so through June, I'm if I find a publisher, I'm happy to hand it off. But then I knew for my goal, it's I need to either sign the game or publish it myself. So basically after June, I was cool, I'm publishing it myself. And that's when I really started marketing the game. But by marketing, one of the things I did after I got all the Kickstarter data about Fry Thief was I looked through every single backer, and I knew over 100 of them. Oh, wow. And I only had 400 backers. So a lot of the people are someone I've interacted with on Twitter, saw them on Facebook, or their friends and family. I think my strategy was make friends online. And then so people I worked with 5 years ago at a company back in Green Bay, Wisconsin, backed my game. Because, yeah, it's really cool that those relationships that, I haven't talked to them in many years, but they see a game oh, cool, a game about stealing fries that's relatable, back $15 back now. So it's really, really good. But I think my strategy was make friends online. I used Twitter, I used Facebook. Actually, a number of people were just at conventions. I was at Proto Spiels and they gave me their email address, or I was just walking around at Gen Con, and a couple people who backed the game were someone I talked to for 5 minutes at Gen Con, but
that's great.
I got enough information. Yeah. I was a bit surprised at how many people were people that I knew.
So did you know to make friends or these relationships ahead of time, or was this something that just felt intuitive?
I do believe, so I've always been a fan of showing your work online, and that unintentionally but helps people buy in. So every Jackson Pope has a great Craft Wednesday post on Twitter, so just look up #Craft Wednesday, and he says, hey, what are you working on? He will ping you, so you just let him know, and he will find your Twitter handle, and every Wednesday he'll ping you and say, hey, Patrick, what did you do? And you're kind of I did this graphic design. And so every week for 6 months, I'm sharing my stuff, and he will then retweet your answer to everyone that's in the group. So it was just a way of sharing my work every week online. And then I loved
Craft Wednesday, huh? I've never heard of that.
Yeah. Check. And then also I interviewed Jackson Pope on my podcast. So check out he's episode 5 or 6, one of the early ones. But that's how I heard about it. I was interviewing him for my podcast. He told me about Craft Wednesday. And then I just participated, and it was a great way to like share my game with others. And so many people. So when I shared my stuff on various Facebook groups, there's like a Kickstarter backers group of just new campaigns. That's all that the Facebook group is. And I shared it on launch day, and so many people were like, "Oh, I've been following this for months."
Wow.
So yeah, so Craft Wednesday on Twitter, and then as well as just my own personal stuff whenever I wanted to ask questions. The Board Game Design Lab is good, but now in the last couple weeks, I've been posting stuff on the TGC Designer Discussion Group, whatever that is, and just constantly posting stuff, and people are like, "Oh, I've seen this in these other places, and I'm interested. Back it now." I think just like don't be like, "Hey everyone, buy my stuff." I genuinely ask people questions like, "Hey, for this, should I use this type of background or this type of background? Here are my thoughts. What are your thoughts?" And people love contributing to that stuff in the right groups, right? I think it's really helpful.
That's great. So did you just kind of decide to step into all of these different communities and start sharing, or did someone suggest these communities to you? Like, how did you find everybody?
That's a good question. It was so long ago. I don't remember.
That's fair.
I think I probably found some of them early on. But some of them you just have to learn by listening to a podcast, reading a forum discussion, reading the Game Crafter chat. But like, you just have to figure out. I think you just slowly find where the communities that are right for you. I know on my podcast, I've talked to a few people who they love Board Game Geek, and I try to use Board Game Geek, but it's like the user interface is very clunky. I haven't quite figured out how to master that. It's not for me, but it's probably right for someone else.
Yeah, I also have had difficulty with the Board Game Geek forums. It's just like, I'm not a forum person, so I struggle with figuring that stuff out. I'm totally easy with Facebook groups and stuff. I love the groups. Chatting on Twitter, because it's like I get to talk to the individual right then and there, and so it's pretty easy. I just haven't picked up Board Game Geek either.
So just starting to get into BGG, I do have something I want to share, I guess, is like on Facebook. Facebook is very, very good for here's the specific problem that I'm looking at for my game. Here's a teensy bit of information you need to know. Now give me your advice. Facebook is good for that. BGG is really good for, like, I have a work in progress thread for a game I'm working on for the Mid-Tin competition. And what's great is then people see the history and they see it sort of people give you more nuanced advice, if that makes sense. Because they can see all the history versus on a Facebook post, I'm just like, background A, background B. They don't know anything about the game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Okay, so we could utilize both Board Game Geek and the Facebook groups. It just really depends on like what you're trying to share with the world, I guess, is knowing what direction you should share it. Did you do for Fry Thief? Did you do any like advertising, like where you spent money on ads?
Yeah. So I have so just for everyone who's watching, I have a background in e-commerce, meaning I'm part of my day job is advising people how to sell things online. So using ads is like in my repertoire. I spent a lot of time coming up with ads for Fry Thief. And what was effective for me is pre-campaign ads. And you eventually figure out that you have to come up with a bunch of headlines, come up with a bunch of images, come up with a bunch of call to actions, mix match them together, and Facebook can do that for you. You can just say, here's my 5 headlines, here's my 5 backgrounds, here's my 5 call to actions, figure out the best one for me. You can do that with Facebook. And I got pre-campaign leads, meaning email addresses. So I had a landing page, all the stuff signed, They went to a landing page, give them more information, they sign up. And it depends on how expensive your game is. I think for a $15 game, you have to be really good at ads to make sure that you're getting leads that are like less than $1, because not all of your leads are going to convert. I did some initial math. I haven't checked this. I want to say about 30% of my leads converted. So that means I probably got, oh no, I've done some more digging. I got at least 100 email addresses, probably more. I think I got 200 email addresses from Facebook ads, but only 30% converted. So about 60 email addresses actually bought the game in the end. And and you only know that at the end of the Kickstarter campaign when you get the email addresses, and then you can compare them to what you got through your Facebook ads funnel. I tried mid-campaign ads, and those were terrible. I tried for like 3 days, and they were terrible. So I've done a little bit of digging, and I think you need something. So if you have a more expensive game, then I think the costs might justify it. So let's say I have to spend $4 to get someone to buy a game mid-campaign. That just doesn't work for a $15 game. But it might work when your game is 100 or $50, or it'll probably definitely work if your game is $100. Or it'll also work if you're using IP. So I saw a really good Facebook video by the company who did Kingdom Rush, which is a tower defense game, and it's like well known in the mobile space. So if you like tower defense games, you know the name Kingdom Rush. Then when you see a game for Kingdom Rush, you just kind of buy it on impulse. Does that make sense? So if you have an IP, an intellectual property that's really popular, you can probably get away with mid-campaign ads for a very low cost. I just think for smaller games, it's rough. Or just try something I didn't, and maybe you'll find the magic combination that I couldn't find.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it happens that you're going to have some ads that work and some ads that don't. That's interesting that mid-campaign ads didn't do it for you.
Yeah, and some people have had a lot of luck with them. There's one right now on my Facebook feed that they just keep hitting me up. Like every time I open Facebook, I see the ad for Moonrakers.
Oh, mm-hmm. I've seen it.
And I don't know how they're targeting me, but like every time I open Facebook, I see an ad for Moonrakers, and it's not quite right. It's not the type of game I would buy. So, they're going to lose 50 cents on me or $1 on me for advertising to me. But maybe, the game costs probably, oh boy, I don't remember, $40, $50, whatever it was. So they still might make those ads work.
So you definitely recommend doing Facebook ads, but I like that you recommend mixing it up. So, go ahead.
Yes, so I do not want to say I definitely recommend Facebook ads. I think they're definitely worth trying. So I think you should at least spend 50. Oh boy, this depends how much money you have. I would recommend $50 to $100. What's great about Facebook ads is no matter what, you will get some information about your audience. So as an example, let's say I told you I had 5 headlines, 5 images, and 5 call to actions of like the button. And Facebook A/B tests all of these together in a crazy pattern that'll take you forever to do it if you did it manually. What's really cool is, let's say I'm torn between 2 taglines for my game. Facebook ads can actually, even if they're not cost effective for getting leads, let's say I only got 20 leads on my email list for $100. That's $5 a lead. That's not good. That's not good math. But if all of those 20 leads converted on the headline, I think my headline was like a game about poor life choices, which is the one I ended up using. If they all converted with that headline, now I know that's the best headline to use. So for $100, at least I figured out the right headline, and you can use that in your Kickstarter campaign. So I'd say if you have $50 to $100, I'd say experiment. It's worth figuring out your taglines, your headlines, and what type of images people like. And you might be able to get your cost of I'm forgetting the exact right term here, but your cost per lead down to like a number that's good with you.
So then we recommend trying it.
Yes. Yep. And they might not work, and that's fine.
I'm on board with that. Now, I know you mentioned that since the campaign has launched, it's done. This was back in February, so it's been a little while. Mm-hmm. You said that you've done some post-campaign, but I guess you've received some post-campaign backers. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So there's the one thing you should always do is have a pledge manager ready to go by the time your campaign ends. So you should do some research before, but you can decide mid-campaign what you're going to use. Get it all set up. You want to have your products loaded in there, so people and then one of the things you can do on Kickstarter is change the button. So when people hit FryThief or Kickstarter.com/FryThief, whatever it is, they will see a button that says late pledge. And I got probably 60 email addresses, of which I think like 25 to 30 people actually bought the game from that, which is a lot. Right? Like I got 25 to 35 extra sales based on just having a button on my Kickstarter page. I did like link to it in a few places, and I mentioned it in a few places, so I'm not sure if they came from Twitter, Facebook, or I'm not sure where they came from, but just having that late pledge button can get you an extra 20, 30 sales without, I didn't do any marketing, but I did occasionally mention it, and those occasional mentions, and I do have it in my email signature.
I was going to say,
so from those,
I've seen it in your email, and that is, it's not necessarily paying for marketing, but it's post marketing.
Yeah. So fun fact, I always use tracking links in those email links. 64 people have clicked that email link. I don't know if any of those actually purchased, but probably a couple of the 25 purchases are from just the email signature.
You know what?
Yeah.
I have to say, I think yours is the first one I've ever seen where there was a link to like a Kickstarter or, you know, like post Kickstarter purchased link. I've never seen anyone put that in their email before. So I find that interesting that you've gotten clicks. And I think that is something people should consider. I've been, you know, email is I think it's so underutilized.
Yeah. Yeah. So from my online marketing background with e-commerce, the best converting channel has always been email, and I don't think anything will change that anytime soon. Now, there's higher engagement channels, meaning people will talk to you more. Like if you have a video that's a very high engagement channel, I don't know if people are chatting to us right now, it's a very high engagement channel. But in terms of conversions, actually getting people to buy things, the best channel has always been email, and will probably continue to be email for a very long time.
Yeah, I've heard just from various marketing books that I've read and people that I've interacted with about getting that email. People spend as much time checking their email sometimes as they do checking social media and interacting that way. And I will say personally, when I see emails come through, I open them. I open everything because, you know, I don't want to miss something. So I'm glad that you brought up that you have it in your email signature, because I do think that email is pretty underutilized.
Totally. And I will not name this company, but there is a very large board game company, and their email marketing game is zero. They give me one email the day a new game launches. They've never told me about it before. They're like, hey, new game, buy it now. Like there's no warm up. And one of the things you have to do is you have to like warm people up. So I think for Fry Thief, I ended up with a either 7 or 8 part email series on like, so it's like, why did I do it? What's the premise of the game? How do you set it up? How do you play? Extra rewards. I forgot what the 7 emails were, but I just broke it up. Like basically all the chunks that you would see in a Kickstarter campaign, I just put them into emails. And that way on launch day, people have, and I set them about a week apart each. So if you sign up 2 months before my Kickstarter campaign, you get 1 email a week. And you figure out exactly what my game's about, you know what's coming, you know what the price is, and you're either going to unsubscribe or you're going to be more likely to buy. So while we're talking email, not just personal email, but when you're collecting emails, I had emails from conventions, I had emails from like game testing conventions. I did have emails from Facebook. I do think you need that. You need to warm people up, is what it's called, right? You need to warm up those leads so they want to buy on day one. One thing we haven't talked about yet, I funded in 38 minutes. I think that's because I warmed people up. So you want people to buy in those first 38 minutes so you can get on first hour, definitely in the first day. So so other board gamer, you get in the Kickstarter recommendation algorithm and other people find you.
That's really cool. I'm glad you mentioned it. I did see that 38 minutes, and I don't know what just was like, wow, that was really fast.
It was great. I was posted. I had so many. So I sent out. So Kickstarter went live. I like double checked it. So I pressed the publish button. Double check. Okay, we're good. You can buy stuff. I texted I think 5 people who promised they'd buy it in a couple minutes, just so that there's like 1 or 2 sales instantly. Then I emailed my list. Then I posted on like 5 million Kickstarter groups, or Facebook groups, which I've already determined that it's okay to post Kickstarter links on them. Most of them are not. So you have to find the groups. I had a spreadsheet of maybe 5 to 10 of them. Then it was on Twitter, right? So just by the time I was done, it was funded. So by the time I finished posting and email and texting and this and this and this, it was all done, that's what you want, right?
That's really exciting. Wow. Look at that. Mm-hmm. Did it totally surprise you?
Yes, it totally did. I was very, very, very happy. Like a friend of mine, so how about this? A work colleague of mine who we've met at 1 or 2 conferences. He's a cool guy. And one time, like 6 years ago, he didn't have a room for the convention. And so I said, I have an extra bed in my hotel room. You can use the bed. But that's like the extent of our friendship. Like met a couple times, hung out a couple times. I think because of that kind act I did 6 years ago, he bought the top pledge level, which is like $150. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So So like you just have to keep like even those tangential people that you haven't talked to really in 6 years except at work conferences, post everything on Facebook, on Twitter, not in an obnoxious way, but just post and share what you're doing. And hey guys, I'm really excited. Here's this game I'm working on. I just did a photo shoot. Or I want to do a photo shoot. Who in Denver, where I live, can help me do a photo shoot? That's like a genuine question. You'll get you'll get interest that way.
That's a great idea. I wanted, before I forget, because I almost forgot.
Yeah.
For email, I'm just going back to it for a second. Do you use any specific software or websites or anything to manage your email marketing?
Yes. So you definitely, first of all, for people who have never done any research into this, you do not want to send it to your personal Gmail. You will get moved to the spam folder very quickly, and then no one will get your emails. So I will say, you know how I advised people to test Facebook ads? I'm going to say you must use some sort of email marketing platform. The one that's really good to get into is MailChimp. It's pretty well known, and they have a free account up to 1,000 emails or 2,000 emails or something. I actually used a platform called ConvertKit. They have a very different model, and they're much more expensive than MailChimp, but because I do online marketing for my day job, I kind of already have a ConvertKit account. So it just made sense to to use that tool since I've used it for other things. ConvertKit, just in case you're looking and you have extra money to spend, is really good at visual automations. So you can kind of see, it's just very visual. So you can see email 1, email 2, email 3, email 4. Then you can have branching. So if they click this button or this button in the email, then you can branch. And then if they click this button, they go jump. It's nuts. So if you want to go bananas, use ConvertKit. But if you just want to start with something simple, MailChimp is probably one of the easiest to use tools out there.
Okay. Let's see. We talked about before Kickstarter. We talked about marketing during and kind of after. So I think I covered everything that I really had questions about. Fright Thief did really great. I know, right? Did you have anything that you wanted to bring up that we didn't talk about? Because like you said, this is a little bit of your background. So I'm sure there are some things that I maybe touched on that you want to reiterate or...
Well, I think the one thing I just want to say is I think you should feel free to experiment. I did lots of things that I didn't know if they'd work. And I actually thought Facebook ads during the campaign would totally work. And I had to check the number. I checked the numbers on day 1 or not the first day, maybe day 2 to check the numbers from day 1. And they were really bad. I'm like, really? And then I checked them again on day 3 to check day 2 numbers. They're still really bad. Then I tried a couple things. And after a couple of days, I turned them off. And sometimes you just have to go, that is a failed experiment. Goodbye. That was the cost of learning. I think I just want to encourage people to try lots of things, make friends online. I think that's something that's really useful, and then talk to people in the industry. Yeah, I have a podcast where I chat to game designers, and that was really helpful. They prevented me, just like me chatting to game designers every single week for my podcast, made sure I didn't make so many simple mistakes. I think that's all I got. Would you say
having your podcast has helped you with marketing? Do you think creating content is a good way of interacting with people to, like you said, make friends online?
Yes, 100%. I think 100% it helps to make friends online. So I think how about this? When you talk to a stranger and you say, "Hey, stranger, can you give me," so if you go to a coffee shop right now and try this, or tomorrow morning and try this, go to a coffee shop and be like, "Hey, can I have 10 minutes of your time for some marketing questions?" And the person will be like, "Get away from me, weirdo." No. But if you talk to them for an hour on your podcast, or you review their board game, or you make a video, or you do any one of them, or you chat with them on Twitter every week, and they just launched a game, then you can be like, "Hey, now that we're friends, now can you give me 10 minutes of your time?" And they will very often say yes. So I think you can get 10 minutes of people's time just by doing something kind for them first. So, and actually, I was talking to someone on my podcast recently, and the 2 recommendations I always get on the show is number 1, always join a board game design group. You have to that is the number 1 thing you can do for your game, just to make it a good game. But also, they are people who have people in Denver have launched Kickstarter campaigns. I talk to them repeatedly about, hey, what's the next step I need to take? So you definitely want to have join your local group. And if you can't join your local group, then I would totally recommend being a reviewer. There's people need, if it's your first game, they want free reviewers. Be a free reviewer. Review 50 to 100 games. You will learn so much about game design. You will make friendships with those game designers. And then when you launch, they'll probably retweet, or they'll probably say, hey, I've been following this person. They have a really good taste in game design based on their videos. I bet it's a really good game. Back it. I think, do something in the board game industry. I think it will help you.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up your podcast, because that was one of my questions, is how has content creation helped? But it sounds like it's been super helpful.
It's been super helpful. And you know what else has been really helpful is, I'd say I bring on a lot of my guests. I come on before their Kickstarter campaign, and probably like a third of them don't fund, which is by the way is the average in the board game industry on Kickstarter. Is about I think 60% of games fund and 30 to 40% don't fund. It's a little bit humbling, right, for those people when that happens. But I talked to many. I emailed them like, hey, I see your game didn't fund. What are you going to do? Most of them relaunch a couple months later with a little bit of feedback, a little bit of tweaking, more reviewers, slightly lower price point with reduced, slightly less nice components, whatever. And most of them fund the second time. So like, I learned so much. You get to learn from people's mistakes. So if you review games, let's say as an example, because I think it's really easy to do, say, hey, I'm a new reviewer. For the first year, my reviews are going to be free. So just send me anything. I think you'll get plenty of people who just want any number of eyeballs on their game. You will be able to follow those projects, see if they pass or fail, and there are a couple that surprised me. Like, I can't believe this one succeeded. I can't believe this one failed. Right? Like, the game looks amazing. Why didn't it have that right traction? So you can learn so much just by reviewing games, doing a podcast, chatting to people. Yeah, all these things
Excellent.
are helpful.
Cool. I think those were all of the topics and questions that I had for you and about Fry Thief specifically. I really appreciate you coming on the show. And I guess to reiterate for anybody that missed it, we discussed making sure you grow your online presence by showing off the game. Having the emails we talked were very important, and experimenting and not being afraid to try new things. And sometimes things just aren't going to work. So that's just how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Love it.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Patrick. I appreciate you coming and chatting with me about everything. I love
Thank
your
you for
background.
inviting
It's all
me.
rainbowy and beautiful.
Thank you. I know. I wish I lived people think I'm in like an edgy startup space, and I wish I lived in I wish this was my actual wall. It is unfortunately not my actual wall.
It's fine.
But thank you.
I'll accept it. The fake wall of rainbow. All right, That was it for today's show. Next week, for anybody that is going to be here for next week, I am not sure which guests I'm getting on, are still confirming sometimes. I know, right? That's how it goes with live streaming. Well, it's because everything is always a specific time, specific day, so it's you never know who, right?
It's rough.
But so it will be next week, and if anybody has any more questions for Patrick, how can they reach you? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Great question. So if you just want to chat about something, Twitter's great. I'm at BF Trick. That is B as in boy, F as in Frank, and Trick as in trick taking game. F as in fun, and Trick as in trick taking game. You can also, it's the same username on BGG. So you can also message me there. I don't check it that often. I think those are probably the two best ways. If you want to send me a long, detailed email about something, then I would recommend hitting me up on indieboardgamedesigners.com, and then there's a contact button, and you can write paragraphs if you want. So those are the three main ways I'd recommend.
Are you looking to have any more designers on your show? If any designers that are watching?
Always. Yes. If you are watching this right now, and so I like having people before their Kickstarter or right after. Both of those are really fun chats to have, because before there's the anticipation, or if your game just funded and you just want to chat about it, you might get 20 to 30 late pledges. Come on my show, happy to chat about it. I do want to say, do contact me. If you want to be on my show, do contact me at least a month out, probably a month and a half. I like to record a month before the episode goes live. So yeah, give me a little bit of time, but yeah, would love to have people on my show.
Excellent. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure before I told people to reach out to you. All right. Anyway, so thank you so much again for being on the show, everybody, for watching, everybody who left comments. We had a couple of people that were watching, and they were agreeing with us, saying some cool things about that what we talked about was pretty good. So I appreciate everybody watching.
Good.
Anyway, yeah, so that was Crowd Chat. I got dust flying around. That was Crowd Chat with Cassie. I appreciate everyone coming and watching, and Patrick for being on the show, and I'll see everyone next time. Bye.